It's the Josh and Josh Talk Wrestling Podcast. My name is Josh, and actually, today I am alone. We're down a Josh. Mr. Josh is actually celebrating the birth of a bouncing baby boy, welcoming him into the Josh family. So he's actually on paternity leave for this particular episode. So you guys are stuck with just me. If this is a total train wreck, don't worry. Josh should be back in the next episode. So let's take a look at what's going on in the wild world of wrestling these days. Things are, if you're paying attention and you're not, on the planet Mars with your fingers in your ears, you know that there's been a bit of a virus thing going on, and I'm not going to dwell on that for too much. I'm sure we all know exactly what's going on with that. Let's take a look at how it's affecting wrestling. How about that SmackDown? That was a weird-ass SmackDown they just had, taking place without an audience at the WWE Performance Center. And let me tell you, the audience is just as necessary to the match as the wrestlers and the referee and the ring, I'd honestly say. Because, God bless them. Bayley and Sasha Banks had a match against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, and they gave it their all. It was a good match. It was a good match, but it was just so strange. Just hearing the wrestlers thumping around in the ring, and you can hear them like talking trash to each other or whatever, and you're not getting this roar of the crowd, and it's really you're missing a certain element to it. We've seen dark matches before. The Rock versus Mankind comes to mind as an example of an empty arena match, but that was just a single match. We were basically talking about basically half an episode of SmackDown. The other half of that episode was actually filled with probably some of the best bits from Elimination Chamber. So we did get a little bit of crowd action there because they were literally just replaying a pay-per-view. But it was good. It was good seeing it. It was a good match. The Usos, everybody in the that tag team Elimination Chamber match. It was good stuff. So they showed that. The rest of it was just a couple matches and Michael Cole and Triple H having kind of weird, wonky banter with each other. I was amused, okay? At one point you had Triple H operating the camera saying, we're short-staffed. I'm going to film. I've got the camera now, Michael. And Michael saying, oh, Triple H, you rapscallion, It's the kind of thing that, by definition, it's all done on the fly, short notice. So, overall, I feel like this is the best that we could have gotten given the circumstances. It was just a weird, lonely kind of show. And apparently Raw's going to do this, the Raw coming up. Probably by the time this episode hits YouTube, that episode of Raw will have aired. So we'll see how that goes with Raw doing it, and we'll see how long this is going to last. And that's the thing, guys. This, of course, isn't just affecting SmackDown. This is, of course, affecting WrestleMania. This is pretty crazy, guys. We're talking WrestleMania 36 is actually in jeopardy, definitely. Like, the official word that we're hearing is that if Vince McMahon and company doesn't choose to shut down WrestleMania, Tampa Bay, the city itself, will. So no matter what, it really doesn't look like WrestleMania is going to happen. But you still got Vince and company during that episode of SmackDown still promoting WrestleMania. As if it's just going on. No mention of any chance of it being canceled or anything. It's just going to be, we're going to get Goldberg at WrestleMania. I don't know what Vince is thinking because it's right now it seems like this is an inevitability. But then I stop myself and I realize this is Vince McMahon here. What do you expect? How could you expect anything less than this from Vince McMahon? This is the man who, his balls are so huge, he, of course, is going to try and defy all logic and common sense and the laws of physics and time and everything that we come to understand. Vince McMahon just looks at it and is like, I don't care. Do it my way. You're fired, physics. Even in the face of a literal fucking pandemic, Vince McMahon is still just like, yep, WrestleMania, get your tickets now. Yep. The big dog's going to be there. What are we doing here, Vince? This is just classic Vince McMahon, you know what I mean? But in addition to just WWE and the fans getting kind of screwed over here, with good reason, don't get me wrong, this is a good reason to cancel WrestleMania, obviously. A pandemic's, it's pretty much up there as a good reason to cancel this. So I don't blame that, but think about this. In addition to WWE and the fans, independent wrestlers and independent wrestling promotions who actually really depend on WrestleMania in a way are also feeling the burn because, I mean, as they say, a rising tide affects all ships. Or I guess you'd say a sinking tide in this case, really, because if WrestleMania doesn't go on, there's a lot of hoopla and during that entire week. It's like WrestleMania week, and a lot of these indie promotions really depend on WrestleMania to generate buzz so that they can put on their big show maybe on Friday or Saturday before. I mean, I guess you could argue that it's a moot point because it seems that most gatherings of more than 50 people are going to be canceled anyway. So I guess that's a moot point. But all I'm saying is really, really pay attention to the indie promotions as well. Try and show them some love because for a lot of these guys and a lot of these promotions, it was all hinging on this, and it looks like it's just not going to happen. And a lot of people are going to lose their job. I it's grim to say it, and I don't like it, but it's the truth. So maybe, I don't know, head on over to some of their websites and buy some shirts, buy some indie merch. You know what I mean? Try and support them in any way you can. Wrestling is not, of course, it's not just WWE. And speaking of WWE, Josh often talks about how, WrestleMania kind of sets the stage for the year in the world of wrestling at large and kind of moves the needle forward. In addition to just the financial aspect of things, the disappointment of fans, the affecting of indie wrestlers, the entire world of wrestling at large is going to be affected. This has never happened in its 35-year history of WrestleMania. This is going to be the 36th one, I believe. This is just unprecedented. We're going to have to really see what happens here. This is completely new territory, and Vince has never had to pull anything like this before. On that same note, apparently there's a rumor going on right now that Saudi Arabia is volunteering to host WrestleMania if things don't pan out. I don't know about that. It's just a rumor. It's just hearsay. I don't think we've really heard much beyond just those few words. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything to substantiate this claim. All I can say is if they did that, they're already in bed with, let's be honest, the devil. The Saudi Arabian government is just awful. We've already talked about this ad nauseum on the show. You guys out there know how we feel about WWE's deal with the devil. I feel it would just absolutely tarnish WrestleMania if it did come to Saudi Arabia. It's one thing to put on shows specifically tailored to Saudi Arabia, because that you can argue that that's non-canon. These are just side quest things, whatever, the Greatest Royal Rumble, Super Showdown, Crown Jewel. These are all one-offs created for Saudi Arabia. You're not tarnishing the good name of WrestleMania. I mean, we can debate how important WrestleMania is these days, but at the end of the day, I think we can all agree we don't want WrestleMania's name dragged through the mud. So I'm actually kind of hoping that that rumor is just unsubstantiated hearsay and it's just nonsense, and maybe we just do cancel WrestleMania. I mean, it's crazy to think about not having a WrestleMania. Like, I'm 37 years old, and I've probably been watching WrestleMania, not necessarily live every time, but I've been watching it since probably 2023. This tradition of either watching it live or watching it the next day or something, because I didn't have access to pay-per-views. Couldn't imagine it now, not happening this year. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But, hey, things happen. The important thing is to stay safe out there. I mean, the CDC is doing all that they can to try and curb this thing. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, these sporting events and, the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania, at the end of the day, that's got to go along with that. We don't like it, but you got to stay safe out there. So actually, there's another idea that I just remembered that a lot of people have been toying around with, the possibility of doing an empty arena WrestleMania. And I mean, I already explained that the fans are a key component to wrestling. You cannot, can you imagine, seriously, sit there, go into your mind's eye and imagine WrestleMania, empty arena. People are going to drop somebody's going to have their WrestleMania moment and it's going to be crickets. Can you imagine that? How awful would that be? That would be a travesty. I'm already talking about, dragging the name of WrestleMania through the mud. That would just be the icing on the shit sandwich. Don't do that. You just can't do that. That's just not an option. You could do that with an episode of Raw. You can do that with episodes of SmackDown. You can't do that with a full pay-per-view. I mean, I know nowadays most of us aren't paying the $40, $50, $60 or whatever it doesn't matter. Like, you just can't do that. You just can't do that. That's a no-go. Come on, people. I can't even entertain that thought. Well, folks, that's about it for the world of wrestling right now. This virus has really shaken everything up and just kind of put a lot of things on pause, a lot of things on hold. So I'm going to actually wrap this up. I hope that you enjoyed this single Josh episode. Next time we will return with double the Josh. But in the meantime, if you did like what you hear, why not give us a like? It does help the channel. Why not hit that subscribe button? And if you want, you can click that bell notification so you'll be notified whenever an episode does come up. In addition to just being subscribed to us, because YouTube likes to make you click as many buttons as humanly possible just to get the channels you like. But tell your friends to subscribe. Why don't you subscribe? If you're listening to this and you're not subscribed, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? Tell your dog to subscribe. Hey, what's your mailman doing? Why doesn't he subscribe? Your grandma, hey, she doesn't know what day it is, but you can still get her to subscribe. Stay safe out there. Wash your damn hands. Have a good night, everybody.